Battlefield Bad Company 2 is the second installment of EA DICE's Bad Company series. This title was released simultaneously on the PS3, Xbox 360, and Windows PC platforms in March of 2010. Bad Company 2 acts as the direct sequel to the original Battlefield Bad Company, which was released back in June of 2008. Does Bad Company still have the goods, or should this band of misfits put in for early retirement?
We were here in Russian territory to back up a U.S. counterintelligence operation. A simple support mission, they said. Nothing's ever really that simple, though. Is it?
The story for Bad Company 2 starts off with a World War II flashback in which a group of U.S. commandos infiltrate a naval base as part of Operation Aurora in order to secure a Japanese scientist. While preparing him for extraction, the commandos are warned by the scientist that his research is completed and what he describes as the black weapon is fully functional. While trying to escape the island in a Japanese submarine, the weapon is activated and the commandos along with the scientist are killed in the resulting tsunami. Now flash forward to present time and players are back in control of Private Preston Marlowe, member of a subset of the infamous B Company. Their mission is to locate and secure the black weapon, now known as the Scalar weapon. Returning squad mates include the affectionately nicknamed Sweets, Hags, and Sarge. In the previous installment, this squad acted as the primary component of an entire battalion of misfits and rejects. They are now members to a Special Activities Division which operates more along the line of covert ops. However, this veteran company is still up to their old tricks and maintain their do-whatever-it-takes-to-get-the-job-done mentality. The members of Bad Company all have their own unique personalities and areas of expertise. Sweets is the nerdy type who seems more interested in the technological aspect of modern warfare versus its application. Hags is the redneck type who seemingly only cares about Dallas football and guns, while Sarge plays the role of the stereotypical take-no-bullshit leader. Since players take control of Preston, his personality can only be observed through the narrative cutscenes.
Looking for something that should have stayed buried.
The plot is enough to hold a user's interest, but the cast is so generic that players could guess any given squad member's next line and have a 50-50 shot of guessing correctly. Every aspect of this title's narrative is generic boilerplate, and while it is enough to keep players connected to the flow of the game, it does tend to have a slight degrading effect on the single-player experience.
Sometimes people are just people, man. Mount up!
Bad Company 2 is a first-person shooter, whether players are experiencing combat through the eyes of an infantry unit or operating a tank through crowded streets. A wide variety of firearms are able to be collected in the single-player experience or unlocked in the multiplayer experience. The single-player experience could readily be described as a watered-down version of the multiplayer. All the same weapons are available, but they must first be collected before they can be chosen from the various supply drops scattered throughout the campaign. Also, the single-player experience requires users to act as a one-man army against countless foes, while their squad mates act as little more than meat shields. NPCs cannot take damage and seem uninterested in doing anything other than barking orders or warning about enemy positions.
Get back inside! Snipers! Get inside, man! Snipers in the trees! Preston, get back inside! Snipers!
The multiplayer is a totally different beast and is something that DICE has been polishing with previous Battlefield titles dating all the way back to 1999. Bad Company 2's multiplayer can be described as class-based and squad-oriented combat. Users are encouraged to work together by varying in class in order to better support each other. The classes of Bad Company 2 are the Assault class, which specializes in assault rifles while providing ammunition to fellow teammates, the Engineer class, which specializes in submachine guns and repairing plus destroying vehicles, the Medic class, which specializes in LMGs and dispersing medkits along with the occasional defibrillation, and the Recon class, which specializes in long-range rifles and spotting enemy advancement along with the placement of strategic mortar strikes. All classes can use a wide variety of pistols and shotguns along with specific explosives. What makes Bad Company 2 different from other first-person online experiences is the squad-based gameplay is heavily encouraged. While it may not always be necessary that players strategize with their squad mates, supporting them is generously rewarded, since helping your teammates is an easier way to top the leaderboards, versus solely focusing on kills. If all else fails, every class is equipped with a knife, which when used properly, can be used to embarrass enemies and collect their dog tags. The online match types include Conquest, which requires teams to capture and hold flag positions, Rush, which involves teams either attacking or defending pairs of MCOM stations, Squad Deathmatch, in which 4 squads duke it out in the classic kills equals points scenario, and Squad Rush, which is a smaller, more team-oriented version of regular Rush. In Squad Rush, it is imperative that players communicate with their teammates. An unbalanced attack will result in the arming of a charge, only have the enemy disarm before a player's teammates can arrive as backup. Players can operate tanks, boats, helicopters, light armored jeeps, ATVs, and stationary turrets. The controls when operating vehicles can be a bit touchy, especially piloting air units, but they are intuitive enough after a bit of practice. One of the gameplay elements DICE heavily promoted was destructible environments, and they delivered. Just about every surface in this title is able to be destroyed with regular infantry gear. How a user unlocks new content in the multiplayer experience is also customized according to class. Players have an overall rank displayed as their in-game rank, along with different leveling procedures for the various classes. The class levels max out when they have reached their respective unlocks, while the overall player rank maxes out at 50. Other unlocks include new attachments for players' weapons, and passive abilities like increased armor or gun accuracy. Bad Company 2 has its own achievement system in the form of efficiency pins and insignias. The difference between pins and insignia is that pins can be obtained an infinite amount of times, but both add to a player's overall score for the current match. With a multiplayer this expansive, there are bound to be a few glitches, but none that really cripple the gameplay experience. One of the worst and most humorous is when the game displays a losing screen to the winning team.
Incoming enemy tank.
DICE's presentational prowess has been honed to a higher level since the first Bad Company title was released in June of 2008. Simply put, this game sports some of the best looking realistic graphics to date, especially in comparison to the other console games. The contrast between the snow-covered slopes of the Andes Mountains, the lush jungles of Colombia, and the dusty Atacama Desert serve as excellent backdrops for this squad's perilous adventures. It is apparent that a lot of time and work went into the detailing of the different environments in order to make them look as realistic as possible. However, this cannot be said of the weapons in the game. Some of the models look plain ugly, which is a considerable eyesore when compared to the detailed environments. Since this title is a first-person shooter, players spend a great deal of time looking at their weapons in the hands of their characters. Unfortunately, this results in a blatant presentational flaw that may have gone unnoticed in a different genre. When experiencing Bad Company 2's presentation, the real feather in the cap manifests itself as the game's sound design. The environmental soundscapes, along with the detailed sounds associated with the weapons and vehicles of the game, really emphasize the battlefield in Battlefield Bad Company 2. Whether stalking for snipers in the woods, or dodging artillery shells, the different environments players can experience are all backed up by realistic soundscapes. The game's sound design may go unnoticed by most players, but that doesn't mean that they will not greatly appreciate it. It seems that people only seem to notice when sound design is bad, while good sound design passively makes the user's experience better. Between the single-player campaign and the robust online multiplayer, users can expect to get well over 100 hours out of this title, especially if they plan on collecting all the pins and insignias, along with all the gear from every multiplayer class, plus level all the way to 50. However, the bottom line is that the single player, which takes 5 to 10 hours to complete, feels a little more than an afterthought, while all the emphasis and support is placed on this title's multiplayer. The game menu also has the option to purchase extra content through the online store. Players who purchase a new copy of Battlefield Bad Company 2 get a VIP code that, when entered, grants them access to free maps and other additional content. Players who buy a used copy can still get access to this content if they purchase a VIP code online. This is EA's attempt at giving users an incentive to buy a new copy versus waiting for a price drop. Playing this title with friends is a great way to keep the gameplay fresh and fun.
I'm good. See ya. Nice.
If a long single-player campaign with a good story is a necessity for you, don't give this title a second thought. Pass. If you love online shooters built around a class-based leveling system, look no further, as this title is everything you could want and more. In Bad Company 2, playing online with your friends doesn't necessarily mean competing against each other to top the leaderboards, but using strategy and a variety of playstyles in order to achieve victory. Getting new gear and customizing your classes is addictive, and you'll find yourself constantly working towards unlocking the next best thing. The excellent sound design coupled with the detailed environments is as real as fictional combat gets. Battlefield Bad Company 2 is even better than the original, and we advise you buy a new copy of this tactical shooter.